Good morning, everyone. My name is Carmelle Mohr, and I'm a university student at Augustana, which is where I've come to know Meet. Last year I was invited here to speak about a Christmas project that I witnessed. So for those of you I know, hello. And for those of you I haven't met, I look forward to visiting with you afterwards. I'd just like to apologize. I lost my voice, and I was hoping to get up here and sing today, but that didn't happen. So if my voice was anything squeaky, don't be scared. Today I'd like to speak about an organization called Christmas Presents, and a few of its stories from last year. I would also like to speak to what this project has meant to me. Last October, while sitting in class, I decided that I was going to spend Christmas Day on the streets of Vancouver. A few of us would drive down, maybe my brother and a couple friends. And it was an idea that I'd had since I was very young, growing up in Vancouver, but I hadn't thought of it as a reality since. In class I realized that it could be possible, and that somehow I just had to do this. So I started telling people about it. I said, hey, this is what I'm going to do, can you help me? And soon before I knew it, other people were excited with me. The choir conductor at Augustana decided to dedicate their Christmas concert towards what was now looking like a project. My old high school jumped on the idea and asked of all the students and staff what they could do to help. My friends were all supportive and enthusiastic. Soon after, the student chaplaincy program at Augustana got involved, and they were able to raise awareness to all the students and staff on campus. So within a week, both the high school in Saskatchewan and a university campus in Alberta were involved, and I can't say that I could have ever expected that. Growing up in Vancouver has been quite a blessing, I feel. As a result, I've been exposed to a lot of cultures and political viewpoints and religions and landscapes and beautiful outdoors. And lots of rain, as you're all experiencing today. But I think most prevalent is the raw distinction between the rich and the poor that you can see there. For example, by merely driving down the infamous Hastings Street, passing through the suburbs of Burnaby and then along the shores, Hastings Street sort of winds its way through the slums of Vancouver as it travels farther and farther west. And then all of a sudden, these skyscrapers loom overhead and Hastings Street's divides business person from business building rather than shopping cart from homeless person. And it's truly a wonder when one sees the hundreds of black Cadillacs quickly passing through the downtown east side every morning and evening, and one wonders how such visible poverty can every day between 7, 9 a.m. and 4 and 6 p.m. just be passed and passed and passed. And so from November to December, Christmas Presents grew and grew, and we got corporate sponsorship from Colgate and from Gum, endorsement by the Lutheran Urban Mission Society and the BC ECBC Synod, donations of water bottles and backpacks, and Tim Hortons gift certificates and socks and toques and mitts. The response was outstanding. At the Augustana Christmas concert, we were able to raise awareness about the homelessness across Canada, and many donations came in. Friends took initiatives on their own, speaking at their own churches, to families and friends. Many mornings I would wake up and see that a note saying for the Christmas project thing with a $50 bill had been slipped under the door. And other times strangers would just pass me in the hallways and pass me a 10 or a 20. And the donation bin just kept filling up. It really was generous, like I'd never seen nor imagined possible. Soon it was time to fly home for the holidays, and I arrived with a few clothes myself, but lots for those that needed them. On the Saturday before Christmas Day, we planned a wrapping day, in which we would all gather together gifts, cards, and baking. And it really was the longest assembly line I've ever seen. The gift packages were wrapped in handmade wrapping paper. I think I talked about this last time I was here. And I'd asked the students from the university and some local congregations to paint their hands and then place their hand on the paper and say a prayer or a thought of good intention for the person who would receive the gift. So as we handed out gifts later, we could say to each person that these hands were people thinking of them that day. The goal, if there ever was a number, was to have a gift for 200 people. But we ended up putting together 200 giant gift packages, like they were huge, and 200 tins of home baking. And this was the generosity of only a couple hundred people brought together over 2 months. I really couldn't believe it, and I still can't every time I talk about it. But before we knew it, the long-awaited Christmas Day had arrived. On December 23rd and 24th, you may have heard, but snow poured down over the streets of Vancouver. It was colder than most had ever experienced before, and although it was only -10, and to us here that might not seem like much, inexperience was the danger. Thankfully, many shelters remained open and accepted more guests, There were many, however, that didn't make it through December, and there were many deaths those nights as so many couldn't find proper shelter. Needless to say, we were all concerned for those not able to find a warm place and for what we might see the following morning. I received many calls that night asking if the project was still a go, and I responded absolutely, but I was really worried. Christmas morning, Vancouver awoke to one of the most beautiful sunny days it had seen in a long time. The temperature had jumped about 10 degrees and the clouds parted for the blue sky. I've never doubted this project since Christmas morning. This project has and continues to be out of my hands since day one. And as much as I sometimes thought or wished that I was in control, it's never been me. God has been so fully a part of this project in every step, His hand guiding every idea and every decision and every moment of it. And He gives me every reason and more to trust Him. And yet, I think as we all know, it can be so hard. And now the warm weather. So it was surely to be a blessed day. We loaded up five vehicles with all the gifts and baking and headed out. And we were a team of 23. But little did I know that this was a team that would minister to so many hearts, known and unknown. We divided into small groups. Some drove through certain areas of downtown looking for new tarp shelters. Some stayed stationary at key locations, and some filled duffel bags and presents and baking and walked the alleys. And the reason we organize ourselves in this way is because I believe there's a significant difference between distribution and outreach. And the intention of Christmas presents is to spend Christmas with those living on the streets. It's to create sort of a semblance of normalcy to a day that can be the loneliest, and through that renew hope. God could not have provided a more truly awesome team. Every member was able to serve in their own unique way, and I think it was because of the diversity of our strengths and the passion in our hearts that we were able to minister in this way. The stories of the people we met are so many, and I won't share them all. I shared quite a few the last time I was here. But I would like to tell you one story that has particular meaning to me. A common question I'm asked about street ministry, or whatever your definition is how to approach someone. And just from my experience, I believe that all you have to do is look people in the eyes. When you meet eye to eye, it's acknowledgement and it's equality and understanding. So many people who live on the streets are passed every day, no different than objects. And it's not just those sitting by a garbage bin whom we ignore. I think it's the people in our everyday lives too. In hallways at school or at the office, at the grocery store and in the mall. We can feel so alone in this world, even when we're standing at a crosswalk with 8 other people, or in a classroom of 150. But eye contact is a way of saying, hey, right there with you. But I suppose we're often so caught up in our own lives and perhaps our own loneliness. It's as simple as looking at what proves difficult because it means that we must make ourselves vulnerable. We met many new friends on Christmas Day and reconnected with some old ones. There was one girl whom I met who looked like my age, who found me as a relief to say thank you. And I met her earlier in that day and was able to give her a gift. She didn't speak to me, however, she really looked me in the eyes. Perhaps there were no words that she could say to express her situation, and I knew that there were no words I felt worthy of saying to her. But we needed it. And we looked at each other, and I think that there was an understanding between us. And we hugged, and I wished I wouldn't have to let her go, because she was so cold. But her gratefulness could have warmed 100 houses. Those that live on the streets across Canada aren't homeless, they're homeless people. And they're just like you and me, and they might be and have been you and me. They have parents, and they are sons or daughters. They too have had the ups and downs of adolescence. They have cried and have laughed and have a favorite teacher, and could be from Stellar or London or Edmonton. So when I walk the streets, I feel safe. And some might call me naive for saying that. Oh, you're just 19, what would you know? But I do know some things. And I do know that when you smile at someone, they've got your back. And so much of what we are shown is to fear people. But in the downtown east side, it's not the people to fear. It's the situation they're in and what those situations can force people to do. And the lack of understanding that we often have of people who don't live the same way we do. Call me crazy, but I don't believe that anyone wants to live in the downtown east side or wants to be homeless or wants to wonder from where their next meal will come. It was a mix of emotions on December 25th. It was a day that I was blessed to see the generosity of 3 provinces over the past 2 months come together. And Christ was truly born right among his people. the suffering, the sick, and the hungry. And 400 gifts, which had seemed so numerous, when loaded in vans and packed in backpacks, only met a very limited need. We could have used 1,000 or thousands. The downside is of a need that is truly impossible to express in words. However, even though the gifts quickly disappeared, their meaning to each individual, both giving and receiving, was truly powerful. Even though we couldn't meet the physical needs of the people, we could offer our time and our love. And I think that we were blessed to spend Christmas with our sort of extended family. We've each been blessed with extraordinary gifts and talents in so many ways, and I saw them in a team that day. What I want people to know is that it's not about connections and projects. It's about reaching out in every moment. Yes, in the Downtown East Side, and in Alberta, and Saskatchewan, and Camrose, and Edmonton, in school, at work, while you cross the street, while you call a friend, while you pass a stranger. We have an opportunity. I received an interesting phone call about 4 weeks ago, and I answered. I can't believe I'm telling this story, but I will. I answered, and the voice on the other end of the phone asked, "Is this Carmelle Mohr speaking?" And I responded, "Yeah, it is." And then I heard an audience in the background cheer. And the voice said, "Hi, Carmelle, this is Stuart McLean calling from the Vinyl Cafe CDC. You're live on the air right now." And for those of you who aren't familiar with the Vinyl Cafe, it's a popular story share radio show hosted by Stuart McLean. And once a year they award Arthur Awards to sort of what they call ordinary people who do extraordinary things. And although my brain seemed completely inactive, I ended up having about a 20-minute interview with him about Christmas presents, and the homelessness situation in Canada, and what we can do to help. And however undeserving I feel of this award, I realized that it was such an opportunity to speak about the things I feel passionately about, and know that just maybe one person out there heard, and that's not an opportunity that most people get. The broadcast of this interview was aired last weekend, and I got the chance to hear the other 3 Arthur Award winners. One woman, who had won, had secretly planted 57 tulips in her neighbor's yard, as her neighbor's husband had passed away at the age of 57 that year. Another had taken in a young employee that had gotten into trouble with the law, and he welcomed him into his small apartment to live with his family and have a fresh start. And another drove a couple that was late to the airport 12 hours north out of his way. Small acts, big hearts. And it seems like it's the small things in life that make the big changes. Howard Thurman once said, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it." Because what the world needs is people who come alive. Mathematics, woodworking, retail, visual art, or academics, sports, music, being a parent, being a friend, teaching, listening. All you need to do is step outside and you'll find someone who needs what you have, and lastly, you'll find someone who has what you need. And is it a matter of working at a soup kitchen every Sunday and volunteering every Wednesday afternoon? No. And are those things important and admirable? Yes, absolutely. But is it what we're all called to do? Not necessarily, no. But in our day-to-day lives, if we use what we've been given to glorify God, then we will live in a better world, then we can make it a better place. I feel called to walk with those on the streets. Others feel called to walk among those in school halls. Some feel called to walk among their family. The paths of life are as beautifully diverse as we are. I'll never tell someone that they need to become more aware of a certain situation in Canada or beyond, and nor will I ever tell others that they should contribute to a specific cause. But I will try to tell people about the story of Christmas presents, because to me it's a story of a small idea that through the hands of many came to be a big act. Because it's a story that can help us understand that we all have something to give, something amazing, something unique, something needed. Because it's a story that shows us that we are all in this together. As the Christmas season approaches, I encourage you to remember what you have to give, not what you can buy to give, but what it is that God has given you to give back to those around you. Remember, too, what He has given us for Christmas. Remember how He has died for us to live. Never forget what Christmas is really about, and never forget to come alive. Inadequate or adequate, we are called. Last Christmas we ventured out with the intention of giving Christmas presents and Christmas presents, but we ended up receiving far more than we ever gave. So may you come alive and have a blessed Christmas. Thanks for having me.